There is a very familiar situation that most of us have experienced. You are speaking, expressing an incomplete thought, and before the sentence can even close, someone cuts in, interrupting you as if your words no longer had meaning. In that moment, how did you react? This happens everywhere, at work, in the family, or in close relationships. What is worth noting is that most of us are so accustomed to that moment that we consider it normal. We remain silent, we yield the floor, and the conversation continues as if being interrupted were common practice. Many believe being interrupted is due to others being inconsiderate or disrespectful. But if you observe closely, you will realize a more uncomfortable truth. For the most part, it is because you have actively withdrawn from the conversation to make room for them to continue. You stop before the other person truly needs to stop. You let go of your story before it even has the chance to carry weight. The issue does not lie solely in the interruption. Hidden behind those words is power, presence, and the level of respect others have for you in a conversation. When you fail to maintain your voice, you are silently handing over control to others, not through argument, but through withdrawal. In this video, I will show you simple, calm, yet firm ways to speak that help you retain your voice and no longer be interrupted, whether at work, in the family, or in any dialogue. These principles are inspired by Stoic wisdom that has existed for over 2,000 years, not to make you speak more, but so that when you do speak, others are compelled to listen. Before moving into the specific phrases you can use the moment you are interrupted, there is a reflex that must be addressed directly. Being interrupted rarely starts with others. It usually begins with a very familiar reflex of our own. When interrupted, many people immediately stop and say, "Sorry, go ahead," or simply remain silent to let the other person continue. It sounds polite, it sounds proper, but in this context, that reflex does not help maintain harmony. It does the opposite. It strips away your presence in the conversation. In doing so, you tacitly accept that being interrupted is justifiable. Without the need for an argument or for anyone to act overbearing, you have closed your own story before it could be completed. Stoic philosophy does not teach people to fight for attention or to express themselves through one-upmanship. But Stoicism also does not encourage making oneself small. Silence can be a source of strength when you actively choose it. However, being silent because you were interrupted and then becoming accustomed to withdrawing halfway through is a form of losing ownership that many do not even realize. When this reflex repeats often enough, others do not need to intentionally disregard you. They simply become used to continuing without waiting for you to finish. Consequently, your voice gradually loses its weight in every conversation. Therefore, the first thing that needs to change is not how to speak more eloquently, but to stop withdrawing in the moment of being cut off. You do not need to apologize for an incomplete thought. You do not need permission to finish what you are saying. When you maintain your position in the conversation, the right words truly exert their power. Right now, let us begin with the first phrase. Phrase number 1. Listen. In most situations involving being interrupted, the issue does not lie in others intentionally overpowering you, but in the fact that attention has shifted away from you before the sentence ends. When a conversation becomes noisy, when many people want to speak at once, attention is pulled away very quickly. If you do not hold on to that moment, your voice will immediately be dissolved. In this case, what you need is not to speak more, but to signal clearly that your train of thought has not ended. Listen is a phrase that can completely change the dynamic. It is not confrontational, nor is it a request for permission, but it is clear enough to force the conversation to slow down. Psychologists call this an orienting signal. When you say, "Listen," the other person's attention automatically returns, without the need to raise your voice, without the need for tension. Imagine a meeting where many people are offering opinions. When you are interrupted and choose to remain silent, the conversation immediately slips from your hands. But when you maintain eye contact, keep your speaking rhythm, and say briefly, "Listen," the atmosphere changes. Others stop not because you are imposing on them, but because you have placed a clear stop point in the flow of the conversation. This is precisely the Stoic spirit in communication. No competing, no proving, simply not leaving until the sentence is completed. This phrase is not used to control others. It is used to control the moment. When you maintain attention, you maintain your place in the conversation. And that is the first step toward no longer being easily interrupted. Phrase number 2. The important thing is, even when you have captured attention, you can still be interrupted if others do not perceive the main point of what you are saying. Many conversations are derailed not out of disrespect, but because the focus has not been properly placed. When the core is not clear, interruption becomes almost inevitable. In those situations, what you need is not more explanation, but a repositioning of the most vital part. A short phrase like, "The important thing is," or "This point changes the entire issue," can immediately reorganize the order of the dialogue. You do not need to be loud. You only need to clearly define what the conversation is revolving around. Psychologically, humans tend to prioritize what is labeled as essential. When something is placed at the center, the brain automatically adjusts its attention around it. That is why, in tense discussions, the moment one person calmly redefines the focus, the rambling stops. Not because they speak more, but because they speak at the right place. Think of a familiar situation. You are presenting an idea and someone interrupts with a different opinion. If you follow them, you have lost the main axis. But if you maintain eye contact, keep your pace and calmly say, "We need to return to this point first," the conversation will automatically pivot back. Others do not feel blocked, they feel guided. This is the Stoic spirit in communication. You do not fight the flow, nor do you simply drift with it. You set a milestone for everything to revolve around. When the focus remains firm, your voice requires no defense, because the very structure of the conversation stands on your side. Phrase number 3. This moment. What makes this phrase powerful is not what you say next, but how you pull the conversation back to the present. In any dialogue, control does not belong to the one who speaks the most, but to the one who holds the unfolding moment. When the present is ignored, words lose weight. When the present is held, words are naturally listened to. Right now is how a Stoic does it. When you say the phrase, "right now," you are placing all attention on the moment occurring and asserting that this thought has not yet concluded. There is no need for explanation, no need to push the pace. Simply keep the present from slipping away. You can recognize this in very ordinary situations. A meeting moving too fast, a conversation constantly pulled toward another idea, or a moment where you feel you are about to be left behind. You do not need to speak faster or explain further. You only need to not stop halfway, not change the direction of your thought, and continue your sentence with the same calm rhythm. When that moment is held, others naturally wait for you to continue speaking. This is why people with a strong presence are rarely interrupted. It is not because they are harsh, but because they are fully in the moment. When you stand firm in the present, your voice naturally carries weight. And when words have weight, interruption has no place to stand. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Concentrate all your strength on what is happening right now." For the Stoic, the present is not something to contemplate, but a pivot point for action. When you hold the unfolding moment, you do not need to grip the conversation tightly. Your presence itself holds it in place. These 3 phrases are very short, but if you have ever tried using them, you will realize they possess a weight far beyond the number of words spoken. In Stoic philosophy, power does not lie in speaking a lot or speaking fast, but in the ability to maintain presence when you speak. Stoics understand that words only truly carry weight when they are placed in the right spot, at the right time, and without hesitation. Therefore, they do not use language to fight for attention, but use it to shape the space of the conversation. When a sentence is too long or too rambling, it opens up the opportunity for interruption. Others do not interrupt you just because they lack patience, but because they sense a looseness in the flow of speech. Conversely, a short, clear sentence spoken with a calm rhythm creates a very different effect. It forces the conversation to slow down. It makes others realize that what is being said has not ended and cannot yet be ignored. Stoics do not try to control others. They only control how they show up. When you speak with calmness and certainty, you do not need to raise your voice to be heard. That very clarity causes others to self-adjust their behavior. Thus, the conversation is not pulled away by emotion or haste, but is kept in a state of order. Short phrases do not have power because of the words, but because of the speaker's internal state. When you do not seek to control or impose, but maintain a steady presence, others adjust accordingly, and your words begin to carry weight. And when you understand this principle, the simple phrases to come will no longer be communication hacks. They become the way you maintain your position in any conversation. But understanding alone is not enough. The 3 phrases you have just gone through only truly have value when you know what to do in the moment of being interrupted. And that moment is always very short. Not 10 seconds, not 5 seconds. Only the first 3 seconds or so decide whether you maintain your voice or let it slip away. In those 3 seconds, it is not the words that decide, but your reflexes. Second one, do not stop immediately. Most people lose their voice because of the reflex to stop too quickly, apologizing, falling silent, or momentarily stepping back to make room for others. You do not need to react. Simply do not withdraw. Second 2, do not change the direction of your thought. When someone cuts in, it is very easy to be swept up by what they have just said. But if you change direction, you have placed them at the center. In this second, keep the thought you were speaking. No adding, no subtracting, no chasing after. Second 3, continue speaking with a slightly slower pace. Not faster to reclaim your turn, but slower to hold the moment. This is when you use one of the 3 phrases you have learned. Listen. The important thing is, or right now. Then continue your train of thought. These 3 seconds are not intended to help you win an argument. They help you stay. Stay with the unfinished sentence, with the present moment, and with your position in the conversation. When you do that often enough, others will become accustomed to waiting for you to finish before it is their turn. This practice does not need to start in stressful situations. Try it in small conversations, at work, in the family, or with friends. Just remember one thing. The first 3 seconds belong to you. And when you hold those 3 seconds, you rarely need to say anything more to be heard. Stoicism does not teach you that you must be heard at all costs. It teaches you to master your own reflexes. And when your reflexes change, the way others treat you changes as well. Try applying this in a very small conversation today. Just remember one thing. The first 3 seconds belong to you. When you hold those 3 seconds, you rarely need to strive to be heard. If this video provided you with a helpful perspective, please like the video to support the channel. And if you want to continue cultivating calmness, self-control, and inner strength in the spirit of Stoicism, Subscribe to the Stoic Journey channel to join us in the upcoming videos. Thank you for being here. See you in the next video.